Hello there, and a big thank you for everyone joining us today. I'm Amy, the Head of User Experience and Conversions at Yoghurt Digital. I also want to give a huge shout out to Visual Website Optimizer, WWO, for hosting this webinar for us and giving us the opportunity to connect with you all today to teach you some awesome things. So today's session, have you got the basics covered? I will be focusing on accessibility standards and A/B testing, both very key fundamentals that can make or break your digital experience. So before we begin, just as part of Yoghurt Digital's reconciliation policy, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people today. So a bit about me. I've been in agency for about 16 years and counting. I actually started as a graphic designer before moving into conversions and dabbling a bit into psychology. But my passion is really around, the conversion service as a whole. And also with me today is Darren, who's been in agency for about nearly 10 years, and he's one of our trusted and highly skilled senior UX UI specialists, and he plays a really key role in the day-to-day execution of our UX conversion services. So while I can't be presenting you with this content, he will be engaging with you in the chat. So if you have any questions, ping him a note and he'll answer your questions on the fly as well. And you might even see a poll come up every now and then as well. So we're both from a company called Yoghurt Digital in Sydney. We're a digital marketing agency and we're boutique. And what that means is we're flexible and strategic and we adapt really quickly to what our clients need. Our focus is on driving traffic and converting it. And we do this through three core pillars: paid media, which contains paid search ads on Google and paid social, organic search optimization, and user experience conversions, which is my area. And we're from what we call the UXC department at Yoghurt Digital, which stands for User Experience and Conversions. And what this means is that in every piece of UX work we do, we focus on the user, their experience, and the conversion process. Ultimately, our goal is to create a seamless and intuitive experience that really drives business results, which is revenue, leads, or anything that might be relevant to the business as well. And here's our obligatory client slide, just a glimpse of the brands that we've worked with. As you can see here, we worked across a range of industries, which means we've got plenty of insights and experiences to share as well. So today we're going back to the basics, starting with accessibility. And at its core, accessibility means designing for everyone, ensuring the web works for all abilities, devices, and levels of experience. I found a study in 2023 from the World Health Organization that 15 to 16% of the global population has a disability that impacts web use. But accessibility isn't just about designing for people with disabilities. It's about making the web easier for everyone, including those with minimal digital experiences. Because the idea is if they can navigate it smoothly, so can everyone else. So accessibility really matters because it creates a seamless experience for all users, and that builds trust and satisfaction. It reduces barriers for users who might, otherwise struggle to engage with your content or services. And if relevant, it helps meet legal standards, reducing any compliance risks that might exist as well. So accessibility is measured by the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or the WCAG 2.0. It's a globally recognized standard for making digital content accessible for all. And this is published by the World Web Consortium, or we call W3C, and the WCAG provides kind of a structured framework for designing inclusive websites, apps, and digital experiences. The four core principles of WCAG are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And I will walk you through each of these principles with some examples to show you, how to meet them and how it's not done well as well. And for each of these core principles, there's three levels: A, double A, and triple A. A is the most basic level, which is the minimum that every website should meet realistically. AA is what most websites who are trying to be compliant will be meeting, and triple A is the highest accessibility that's accessible for everyone and very inclusive. So firstly, let's talk perceivable. Can users hear or see your content? So perceivable is about how information, mainly the interface that people engage with, can be used. And from a single A perspective, this involves things like adding alt text, video captions, and having readable content, pretty basic stuff. When we move to double A, we start looking at how other devices like screen readers are supported, and also contrast ratio for text for readability. And then AAA, which is the strongest of the lot, starts integrating with your content as it allows users to adjust and fit what they're reading to their device preferences as well. So let's go into some examples. I think that one of the simplest accessibilities that everyone can look at and start fixing is sufficient contrast. So what you want to do is avoid light text on backgrounds because it makes content really hard to read. Black and white is the safest choice for maximum readability. And we use WebIM's free contrast checker just to test if your website and content is accessible. That being said, don't rely on color alone. Use underlines for links and maybe icons where relevant or patterns for differentiation. And the reason for this is because some people will have some settings on their device, not for accessibility, but like, for example, bright outdoor lighting can wash out low contrast text. Myself included, I have like a blue light filter on my computer screens that actually changes my screen to a little slightly more yellowy color, and I'm sure many people will have this as well. And that literally changes the color. So without the right contrast settings, those type of situations might not be caught, and people could be missing out on very valuable content on the page. Next is alt text. So alt text isn't just great for like organic search optimization, it's also essential for accessibility. And meeting a AA compliance requires meaningful alt text or images. So in examples here on the right, the first image shows a properly loaded image of a cupcake. And then if in the case the image loads to fail due to internet connections or anything like that, the users will see a broken image like this. It'll just be useless without context. It might as well not exist because it's just a square. With alt text, the far right, if it doesn't load correctly or if they've got images turned off, this is what they'll see. So it'll be a descriptive text alternative, and they still understand the context of that particular image. So other best practices to keep in mind when writing alt text, you want to be descriptive, explain the image's content, the purpose. You want to keep the text within it to be quite concise. So around 125 characters is ideal and no more than that. You want to avoid text like image of or picture of because what screen readers already indicate it is, and generally the function and the outlines around it will already specify that as well. You don't need to do it as well. And then any decorative images that don't need a description, such as like underlines or like just non-functional things, you can just leave as an empty alt by putting nothing between the alt text, and they're typically skipped by screen readers. Next is transcripts. So just making it more accessible for users with maybe hearing impairments or even users in noisy or quiet environments where they just really not in a place to play audio as well. Transcripts and content could also be really good for non-native speakers who just find maybe reading easier than listening because it can take time to absorb that information. So best practices around this is you want to use captions, not just subtitles, because captions include like sound clues like music playing or things, and just give more context to what's being played in the video if it's quite long. If you're using auto-generated captions, check for accuracy because AI always has mistakes in that aspect as well. And where possible, provide downloadable transcripts. This is not only helpful for organic search, but also helpful for people who prefer just to skim the content really quickly as well. Fortunately, there are free options out here for this. You can use Otter AI for one of them for quick generation, or you can also use YouTube's transcript tool as an alternative as well. So then let's talk about Operable. Can users navigate your website? So at a basic single A level, users should be able to navigate with a keyboard, not just a mouse. Another key factor is time. While marketers, myself included, often use like countdowns and things to drive urgency, accessibility focuses on giving users enough time to complete a task. For example, you want to prevent things like session timeouts that log users out too quickly, or allow users to pause or extend time limits when needed as well. So at its core, operability is really about making digital experiences more in control for that user, for everyone as well. So when it comes to that navigation, just make sure it's consistent across all pages and just being genuinely helpful for users as well. So one often overlooked element is breadcrumbs. The left example here includes breadcrumbs, but it lacks context. It's the home and it goes to product. Where are the pages in between? It's the category pages. Whereas the one on the right, which is the H&M example, shows the homepage, which is hm.com. It breaks into the category women, subcategory premium selection, subcategory bottoms, and then the actual product itself name, which is linen pants. So you can see these breadcrumbs clearly show the user where they are within the site. Every site is hyperlinked for easy navigation. That's really great for internal linking for SEO as well. And they're all very short and scannable and avoids necessary words. There's quite a lot there, but it's quite easy to browse. Next one's kind of easy to forget about touch-friendly designs when we're used to like clicking around with a mouse, especially when we're building websites and designing through there as well. But on mobile, bigger tap targets really matter, especially with users with the bigger thumbs. Don't get about those people. And take this example, and they both do it right and wrong in a way as well. The main navigation, the left, is really great. Big, easy to tap, I don't think there's any readability issues here. But once you click and expand on Shop Online, you can see the secondary menu shrinks quite a lot, making it a little bit harder to click, and it's also maybe borderlining on text being too small as well. So I know that they probably tried to show hierarchy, but shrinking these touch targets is a bit too much. Instead, what I would recommend if you have something similar to this is use color contrast to make it little stand out or make it fall behind. Play around with font weight or styles as well, or look at spacing and indentation to kind of align it as well. So general rules to follow for this as well is tap targets should be a minimum of 44 times 44 pixels height and width as the absolute minimum. You want to avoid cramming links too close to each other because they might click on something else accidentally, and test on real devices, not just desktop, like beyond emulators as well, because even with emulators, that doesn't really have the whole thumbprint area considered because you're still using a mouse. Many users navigate websites entirely with a keyboard, and I actually found stats that roughly about 7% of the US population actually do this, which is quite considerable amount. So if you are with Shopify or something mainstream like that, you can add keyboard navigation support through plugins. So you just install it and away you go, and you don't really need to do much else, which is great. So the idea for this is users should be able to tab through all the interactive elements in a logical order. And you want to ensure there is a visual focus on the indicators, such as like outlines around active elements. And you want to trap focus inside modules. Users shouldn't be able to tab out until they actually close out modules. And yeah, I think the main part of navigation with a keyboard is focus management. So there might be some issues where if a new module opens, like you've added to cart and the mini cart appears, in this example here, they should be able to just tab to it rather than tab within it rather than exit and then have to go through the entire page to kind of reach it. Ideally, they should be able to automatically focus and shift to the new modules as they kind of appear as well. And I recommend everyone today to test this yourself. Unplug your mouse or just put it aside and then try navigating your website with the tab, enter, and arrow keys and see how you go, because that can also be reflective of that too. So in respect to auto logout, commonly seen on websites with security features, and you may have come across this when like banking or booking flights, etc. So when a website automatically logs you out due to inactivity or due to a long time period, a good accessibility would involve giving users a warning to let them know they're about to get logged out, and then also potentially giving them the option to extend their session, like give me 5 more minutes if needed as well. And not that only this just preserves security, it also gives users a better sense of control to avoid disruptions, because there are some people out there, my mother included, who will just take a very long time to do something because they just are a little bit slow because they're a bit more elderly as well. So definitely keep that in mind as well. A confirmation step is really important for accessibility as well. It's important that users can verify and correct their input before taking irreversible action. And because this reduces, general errors and just frustrations and the unknowns as well. In this example here, Etsy uses a really playful and colorful order review design. And the page includes a prompt to emphasize that the page is for purchase review, asking them to double check things. And it also encourages customers to place their order with an eye-catching box that says almost done. Please click place your order to complete your purchase. So, and the place your order button is also black, which contrasts really well with Etsy's white design, meeting that other standard that we kind of went through as well. All right, understandable. Is your content clear and easy to grasp? So the WCAG guidelines use something called the Flesch Kinetic grade level to measure readability, and a grade 10 level means like a 15 to 16-year-old, like year 10 in Australia, can read and understand the content. And the scale ranges from 3 to 10, with 10 being the A standard and 3 to 6 being the triple A standards. And this matters because a lower grade level means it's easier comprehension for people. It also accounts mainly for people where English is not their first language as well, because it makes it easier as well. And yeah, I guess in summary, for understandable, it's about having clear content to improve user engagement, which can lead to conversions. If they don't understand your content, they're not going to convert. So I tried to kind of look for some like examples in the same industry with different grade level settings, and I found various insurance sites here that have different ratings as well. And how you can kind of determine this is to run your website page copy through a tool like Datalyze. It's free, or Hemingway Editor is another premium one. There's many tools out there as well. And what you should do to get the grade level down is avoid difficult words, or if they do exist, explain them in very easy terms. And where relevant, especially if you're servicing like a B2, B2C customers, avoid jargon and idioms where possible, because those are very confusing as well. So as mentioned, yeah, this can really help your customers where the English is not their first language, just to understand and engage more easily. Clear form error messages really help people solve their mistakes more quickly. I don't know about you, but I've kind of been in many cases where I have autocomplete kind of set in, and some fields particularly get missed. It's not like I can't fill the form, but I am lazy and I use autocomplete a lot. And often because of that, because certain fields get missed or misinterpreted for a different field, sometimes you might get a message that's like errors below, and then you have to scroll through a huge form to look for it, and then you might fix one, and then you submit again, and it's still error, and it's a whole process up and down. It's really frustrating. And typically in the conversion process, the form filling is the least fun part of the actual process. It's the buying that's fun. So you want to make this part as easy as possible so you don't lose a lot of users. We see like abandonment rates for carts in the average of like 60-80%, which is huge amount of people who have just huge amount of people who have decide to make a purchase, but then did in that aspect as well. So for this, you want to make sure your messages are nice and clear, and it points out particularly what is wrong as well. But of course, instead of relying just on a color, you want to have a generic message. You want to make sure the errors are clear and helpful. You want to describe the issue, such as like email is required, is way better than just highlighting the field. Be specific, like for example, passwords must be 8 characters and so on and forth. Tells you exactly what they need to fix. Use more than just color, like icons, bold text, or even friendly nudge can make a really big difference. And don't forget the screen reader accessibility. Like error messages should be announced so that everyone can fix with mistakes without frustration. Benefits before commitment is about really setting clear expectations. Before asking users to sign up, make sure they know what they're getting. This builds trust, and it just increases conversions overall. Take free agent sign-up form. It does the job, but if we compare it to the MYOB example, they do it better by clearly outlining benefits involved as well. They show what you'll receive before you commit. They're transparent about the next steps and what would happen there. And overall, just sets clear expectations, because that develops more trust and more sign-ups as well. Pricing details is quite big for e-commerce. Most of the users are very price focused and sensitive, as I think we all would agree on that. But when displaying prices, definitely don't rely on color alone, due to things I kind of mentioned before, to indicate discounts, because not everyone can see color and it can get lost in different lighting conditions as well. And then in the left examples, I'm not sure if you actually see this product actually, but it's on sale, but it's like a little gray tiny text above the product there that's kind of pointed to it. It's not really related to the price. It's very disconnected in that aspect. In comparison, the IKEA example on the right makes it much more obvious by having clear wording. It says was this amount, now it's this amount. You don't need colors to differentiate that. You can even read that in black and white as well. The placement is really obvious. It's next to the product, near the add to cart, which is in view as well, and not hidden in fine print. And the bold font and the different sizes just reinforce the discount as well. And the last principle, robust. So this one's more technical than visual, but it's just as important. So at the basic level, your website should be compatible with assistive tools like screen readers, voice navigation, and keyboard-only browsing. And at the high level, it's about future-proofing, building your website to adapt to assistive technologies as they evolve indefinitely. This is a back-end fix, but it's worth kind of checking and checking is your website compatible with assistive technologies. So keeping your code up to date means like less maintenance in the long run, and there's no need for constant web accessibility updates as well. A great example of accessibility in action here is from LinkedIn. Roughly about last year, they introduced Microsoft's immersive reader to improve like content accessibility. And it has things like it reads articles out loud, and it supports like 60 to 100 languages and does real-time translations. It has the option to declutter the page. You can see just this text here, right? They've just chosen the particular part here. And it just isolates content for easier reading. And where big words are involved, it also helps break down the complex words with syllable splitting as well. So there is a link with a QR code there for you to visit this article in a bit more detail to view more of the tool, but it's really interesting stuff and how far it can go. A truly accessible website works really seamlessly across all screen sizes, desktop, tablet, mobile, and various breakpoints as well. So key considerations here is to ensure layouts adjust properly for different devices, because what might look fine on desktop might actually be too long to read comfortably on a smaller screen like a mobile as well. Images should scale well, avoiding awkward cropping or distortion when resizing. And you can use this test just using like browser dev tools, or just resize your current browser as is to kind of see where that kind of fits in as well. Or better yet, if it's available to you, test on real devices to catch any layout issues. Status messages. So this one is based on AA standard, and this ensures that users are informed when something changes on the page. For example, after clicking like search, display a message like 5 results returned, so users know exactly what's happened and if it's worked or not. And it just helps because it keeps users informed and reduces conversion, supports those with visual impairments as well. Another example for this is someone adds something to cart. There should be a visual prompt to show that it's been done, and a lot of websites use this as a way to click through to continue checkout as well, to encourage the next action that comes from it. So thank you everyone for making it through the core principles. I'm going to close off by going through things that you can action this week and how to A/B test some of these aspects as well. So to summarize, here are the 4 basic areas we covered: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust, and the key points that I covered through. I tried to pick particular accessibility aspects that were more easy to be implemented by as many people as possible, which I've highlighted here. But there is many more that can be applied, and you can find this on the WCAG guidelines online. And it's hundreds of there, which of course it's, with the WCAG guidelines is not about remembering them all, but just knowing what to look for. So yeah, you can look at them online. It's pretty much like a website, but filtering through the many pages is very difficult, and it is a bit of a heavy read as well because it's quite technical. Fortunately, there is some AI that can help here, like a ChatGPT. There's many ChatGPTs that have been preloaded with these guidelines that you can just ask them in a conversational tool, and it's just about having your design team talk to this GPT, following them, and hopefully testing them on an A/B testing program like VWO to get that across as well. So in terms of like A/B testing, should you implement it or should you test it? And I guess my recommendations is for implementation. If the change is required to meet accessibility laws to avoid legal risk, we should just do it right away because that's pretty important. If the issue significantly impacts users with disabilities, such as like missing alt text or poor contrast ratios, you should just implement that as well. Straightforward updates like any semantic HTML, keyboard navigation, or descriptive link text typically don't need testing because that's more about, not really the UI, but how they interact with it. Or when a change is unlikely to impact user behavior in any way that would require testing, you can just go straight to implementation. Changes that might alter how a user interacts with a website, such as a newly designed form layout or module interactions, you should test it. When any complex adjustments that may affect usability might differ among user groups, for example, color schemes, font sizes, and placement of things, definitely test it. If you need to balance accessibility with other design priorities, like adding more visual focus states without overwhelming the aesthetic, definitely A/B test it. There's lots of different ways of doing that as well. And finally, if you need to do any justification for demonstrate ROI for stakeholders to buy in for accessibility changes, definitely test it because you'll need that data to be used for your reports. So with like all changes on any website as well, there's not one solution, but many, which is why we should test things because it's about finding the best solution rather than just implementing right away and then seeing how it goes. So in terms of the process for how to test accessibility, first you want to gather data to see if the problem is in fact a problem. Then you want to create a hypothesis by defining the clear outcomes and goals. And you might design multiple variations, test one element at a time so you know what works and what doesn't. We call this sterile testing and reach out to us to learn more about it as well. You want to ensure sample size is statistically significant to generate reliable conclusions. And you want to, of course, measure the test closely, avoiding any premature termination. And VWO has a lot of blogs on the website that talk about this. Same likewise on our Yoghurt blog that talk about, when to not call a test too early as well. You want to avoid that because it's a waste of time. And then once you've done the testing, you review it and just determine if you want to test it some more. Whether you want to challenge it or implement it right away, I guess it depends on the data and the results that you achieved. So I guess it's always recommended in closing to always test something where possible, given the factors that we discussed, because there's not only one solution, there is many, and it's about finding that one that fits best with your users. So with that brings us to the end of our webinar. I hope you found today's content really interesting. And we can now proceed to the Q&As. If you'd like to find out more about me or Yoghurt Digital, there's my contact details there. Feel free to email me directly or connect with me on LinkedIn, or if you'd like a more general response to any of our other services, our details are there for you as well.